Welcome to the Lichen Sclerosis podcast. My name is Kathy, and this is our journal of learning about and living with lichen sclerosis. Each week, I research an aspect of lichen sclerosis and bring you the information and tell you how it's affected my life. Today is going to be a little different. When I woke up this morning, I checked my Instagram account and I found out it's World Voice Day. Thanks to my good friend Claire, who we've talked about before, over at Vulval Cancer UK Awareness. I'll have her Instagram link in the show notes. Go follow her because she puts out amazing information every day. So if you're not following her, go and follow her. So anyway, I find out it's World Voice Day. So I'm like, okay, what's World Voice Day? According to Wikipedia, World Voice Day is a worldwide annual event that takes place on April 16th, devoted to the celebration of the phenomenon of the voice. The aim is to demonstrate the enormous importance of the voice in the daily lives of all people. And this struck a chord with me because, hello, I use my voice every week to get the information out to you. And I was like, hey, I need to use my voice today to spread my mission. And my mission is to tell you that I want you to use your voice. I want you to share your story. I want you to tell someone who doesn't know about lichen sclerosis what it is. I want you to come from out of the shadows. I want you to shed the shame and the embarrassment that comes with lichen sclerosis. I want you to support a sister. I want you to ask for help and support if you need it. And I want you to help me to raise awareness for lichen sclerosis. Now, lichen sclerosis is not special. It's not the only disease that's been marginalized. It's not the only one that's unknown. It's not the only one that gets misdiagnosed every day. I know that. You know that. You know why it is special though? Because I have it. And it's the disease that I can speak on. And it's the disease that I want to see change on. And it's the disease that I'm passionate about. That passion, it's not unique to me. It's not unique to lichen sclerosis. Let's take breast cancer, for example. Everybody is aware of breast cancer awareness. But in the 60s, you didn't hear about it. You know when breast cancer awareness came into the fold? When women with breast cancer started sharing their stories. The Times Magazine wrote an article on how breast cancer awareness grew into what it is today. And they said, quote, breast cancer was an unspeakable condition that women experienced privately and silently with shame rather than social support, unquote, until the 70s. Sound familiar? There's too much shame and embarrassment around lichen sclerosis. I get it. Up until a couple months ago, you couldn't pay me to tell somebody I had lichen sclerosis. It was something that I hid. I hid from my husband. I hid from my family. I hid it from my friends. But guess what? That's why nobody knows what this awful thing is. That's why it took 5 years for me to get properly diagnosed. That's why Claire Baumhauer has vulvar cancer on top of all the other women who have vulvar cancer because they couldn't get a proper diagnosis in time. We can stop this. They go on to say, quote, it took the acts of individual women speaking out about cancer, as well as feminist organizing that targeted the relationship between female patients and the male-dominated medical establishment for the issue to go public and become less stigmatized. This is 2020. There is no reason that we should feel shame, that we should be embarrassed. There's no reason that women should not know what lichen sclerosus is. The longer we stay silent, the more women are going to go around misdiagnosed, undiagnosed, developing vulvar cancer. Breast cancer awareness started with courageous women who got breast cancer and who used their voices to tell their stories. They told them locally. Mind you, this is in the 70s. There was no internet. They had to go door to door with flyers, informing their neighbors, asking for donations, going to the newspapers, trying to get someone's attention. But it didn't stop them. We got it easy today. You share a post, put it on your Instagram, put it on your Twitter, put it on your Facebook. If you don't want your name associated with it, I get it. Go make a dummy account that's not associated with you. Spread the word. You need to let people know this is out here. This does not have to be a death sentence. It's a life sentence. It's not a death sentence. We're not going to the execution. You know what is a possible death sentence? Not getting diagnosed, letting these symptoms get worse, and turning into vulvar cancer. Or not getting diagnosed and having your anatomy change to the point where you cannot live a regular, fulfilling life because you can't have sex, because you can't go to the bathroom without being in pain, because you have to have surgery so that you can have a hole just to pee out of, because you don't know what this disease is, because your doctors are not taking the time to be educated and to look for this disease when you come into their office asking for their help. Because you know what? They're not being trained properly. We have to use our voices, not tomorrow, today. We have to start getting comfortable. Those of us who are out here advocating, we need your voice. There's not enough of us. These women in the early 70s who started telling their neighbors and advocating for some awareness, they were few in between. They were scattered like us on the internet, on social media. But then the influencers came in and they started sharing their story. First Lady Betty Ford gave a press conference in 1974 where she told the whole world about her mastectomy. And you know what? Women listened. According to the Time magazines, they said, as a result, millions of women examined themselves and scheduled screenings with their doctors, which led to a spike in reported incidents of breast cancer known as the Betty Ford blip. Can you imagine how many women would be saved if influencers went on and said, I have lichen sclerosus. This is what it is. This is what it's not. And this is how you can check yourself and see if you have it and get the help that you need. Can you imagine how many women could be saved from mutilation and possible vulvar cancer if influencers started telling them, it's cool, check yourself, just like you check your breast, check your vulva. Talk to your doctor. If you don't feel right, if you feel weird, if you feel anything that's not normal, talk to your doctor. Do you know how many women we could save from the agony and the frustration that we went through? So the influencers, they brought it out to the masses. And from 1974 until 1986, cancer awareness groups started popping up everywhere. But in 1986, a breast cancer survivor and advocate named Rose Kushner, she saw all these little groups and she realized they weren't making much noise. So what she did was she organized all of them and formed the National Alliance of Breast Cancer Organizations. She was able to take their collective voices and get them heard. They went from tiny little squeaks all over the country to this big yell that said, listen, we got a problem here and you need to come and look at this and figure this out. And around the same time in Congress, more and more women were getting elected. And guess what? You know what we do? We push our issues because they weren't getting pushed before. And you know what happened? They pushed cancer awareness. They pushed cancer issues. And between the new organization and the new women in Congress, this was breast cancer's first step in the door of government. They did good. They made themselves known. We're here. You can't ignore us. And in 1991, different advocacy groups joined together and formed the National Breast Cancer Coalition. And you know what their goal was? According to the Journal of Women's Health, their goal was, quote, to increase research funding for breast cancer, access to health for all women, and influence of activists in breast cancer decision-making, end quote. They wanted funding for breast cancer. They wanted access for all women. And they wanted a seat at the table with researchers because they weren't happy where the research was going. Sound familiar? Is anybody looking for a cure? Do we know? Hell, they don't even know what the hell it is. They don't even know what causes it. How can they look for a cure when they don't even know what causes it? But they push treatments, the research and treatments. They got all these different treatments. These treatments that cost thousands of dollars that our insurance is not covering, that we can't guarantee if they're going to last. You might have to get it done again in a few years. Or you got to keep putting the steroid on you for the rest of your life. And who's addressing the mental health? Did your doctor tell you, you know what, I'm going to refer you to a counselor, a therapist, so you could talk through the feelings that this might give you? I know my doctor didn't. None of the women that I've spoken with said their doctor did. Do you think the researchers are thinking about that? Do you think doctors are thinking about that? No. You know why? Because we're not talking up and we're not telling them we need mental health access after we get a diagnosis. People who are getting diagnosed today, they need to see a counselor. They need support. They need help. They don't know to ask for these things because they haven't been there, but we have. So we have to use our voices and let the researchers and the doctors know what these women need. They don't know. They're not in our heads. And if we don't use our voices, guess what? They ain't never going to know. Back to our breast cancer sisters. We know, because we're in 2020, they've been able to lobby the government. They've gotten millions, hundreds of millions of dollars for research. They've been able to form collaboratives of researchers from different disciplines so they can all work together and look at breast cancer from different angles all at the same time and brainstorm off each other to try to come up with new treatments. And they've saved women's lives. Back in the 60s, if you were found to have breast cancer, automatically chopped off your breast, maybe took some lymph nodes, took some extra muscle down there. They didn't care. It wasn't until the women started using their voices that the way that medicine was practiced changed. Again, according to the Journal of Women's Health, they said, quote, neither of the shifts would have occurred without the involvement of outspoken and courageous women who were willing to share their personal stories with the public early in the 20th century, end quote. They shared their voices. They shared their stories. They told Anybody who would listen, this is what's happening to me. This is what you need to look for. This is how you can not go down my path. Researchers, this is what you need to look for. This is what we need. Talking about research, the Journal for Women's Health said, quote, the transdisciplinary model exists due to the culmination of efforts by passionate women impacted by breast cancer who were never satisfied with the status quo. They gave a voice to the silent disease and continue to have a voice in the ongoing quest to eradicate breast cancer, end quote. They were not satisfied and they would not be silenced. Are you going to be silenced? According to the Times, they say breast cancer activism has evolved from individual patients voicing their own experiences to the formation of community support groups for cancer survivors to political organizing for a cure. It has grown from a small grassroots movement to a widespread network of professional advocacy, end quote. We can do that. We have the voices. We have the means. I have a voice. And I choose to use it to support my sisters, to educate my sisters, to help my sisters, those of today and those of the future. What are you doing with your voice? What are you going to use your voice for? Are you going to be silent and let what happened to you happen to another woman? Are you going to be silent and let your story be forgotten? Are you going to be silent and let the status quo continue? Or are you going to make your voice heard? Are you going to tell your story and let your sisters know that they're not alone? Are you going to tell your story so people who don't have lichen sclerosis know how we suffer silently? How we fear their judgment? The looks on their faces when we talk about vulvas? Ooh. The stigma, the embarrassment. Are you going to tell your stories so doctors can see how they affect us every single day with their actions and their inactions? Free yourself. Tell your story. If you're not ready to go public, I understand. I get it. It's something you got to work through. But you can still share your story anonymously. Record your story on your phone. Email it to me. I'll share it for you. Send it to lichensclerosispodcast@gmail.com. You don't even have to put your name. I will not out you. I promise. If you don't want to record something, write it down. Send me an email. I'll put it up on the website or I'll read it on the podcast so everybody can hear it and see it. But if you're ready to advocate and join me in this fight, then let's do this. Email me at lichensclerosispodcast@gmail.com. And come on the podcast. Or if you don't want to speak on there, that's fine. I'm not pushy. I'm not pushing you to do anything out of your comfort zone. You can still help. Put out a post. If you're ready to advocate with me, put out a post. Create a dummy account if you have to. And just create awareness. Record a short video. Let people know what this is. Now I'm working on something. I'm working on something big. It's not ready to be released yet. Just yet. Soon. But if you're ready to fight this fight with me, if you're ready to join our voices, I welcome you. Because just like our breast cancer sisters, we have to all come under one roof and have one voice that we can scream and that we can make our issues heard. And I need your help. because I can't scream loud enough. Not by myself. So if you are interested in learning more and helping me advocate for our lichen sclerosis sisters and to raise awareness and to bring about change in research, then go to lichensclerosispodcast.com/advocate. I'll have a link in the show notes. Go on there, sign up for my newsletter, and I'll fill you in on everything that I got going and where everything is and how you can help. And if you're not ready to help yet and you just want to know what's going on and you want to, you might want to help later in the future, that's fine. Sign up. I'll send you the newsletter. I'll let you know everything that's going on. And when you're ready, join us. Let's create the movement of the future. Let's be those women from 1970 fighting for breast cancer so that our future gets a better handshake than we did. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me today. I'm so passionate about this, and I want you to be passionate about it too, because you never know who the next victim could be. Let's do this for our future. Share this. Share this with somebody who you know has lichen sclerosis. Share this with your support groups. Share this on your social media. We got to start getting the word out. Follow me on Instagram. That's where I post a lot of what's going on. I'm at Lichen Sclerosis Podcast. I hope to talk to you soon. Have an amazing week. Stay safe. And I'll talk to you later.